So I just did an audio about July 31st of last year. A lot has happened, and now I'm going to skip to the trial. Frank Milos is on the stand. I'm going to do one part of it. There's a lot of information that is going to be able to be used against Frank Milos. I mean, there's no way around it at this point. I never wanted to go this route. Never. Ever, ever. What I was looking for, what I've always been looking for, is them to stop violating Joseph's privacy and our privacy. And I also wanted the stalking to stop. I wanted, most important, Joseph's file to be corrected. And we have a video of Dave Holden, and that's pretty telling when I have letters from the state medical examiner's office of what they were told. I'm going to do a separate thing, I think, on Perez, and anything that he has written out or anything since my son's death should be scrutinized. If he has ever testified, if he has ever written a statement, written a police report, any of that needs to be looked at because he's a storyteller. But anyway, so Frank Milos is on the stand, and this is one of the very important parts. My attorney asks Frank Milos about Turtle Boy Sports. And Frank Milos says, we've talked about it. Mrs. Farinelli and I have talked about it. Okay. Really, Frank? We talked about it, right? So you knew that James Bano and Brian Beach were involved with Turtle Boy Sports, sending them to my home to cause me harm. You knew that, Frank Milos. You also knew that it was covered up. You also know that 3 years later, you finally produced the letter of James Bano reaching out to Turtle Boy Sports. You knew that Kate Peter from Turtle Boy Sports had sent an APRA. In fact, I showed up at your office on the day that your mother had passed away. And I showed you that I had proof that Kate Peter from Turtle Boy Sports was looking for my son's private information. You should remember it very clearly, because when I was there in your office, Jiu-Jitsu showed up. Now, he's part of another part of this, because he was aware or involved in the stalking, and that was mentioned in federal court, although Mark DeSisto seems to have forgotten the names of the people that were stalking, because he doesn't even think that there was stalking. But we have proof of it between his testimony along with the phone conversations with Sean Driscoll. So Frank Milos was very well aware that James Bano was riling people up to come to my home. The Attorney General's office was well aware that Pawtucket Police had sent people to my home. And they had me go to the state police. The Attorney General's office had me go to the state police. The state police contacts Pawtucket, and Pawtucket's like, no, nothing's going on. There's a conversation with Sean Driscoll where I am very upset and I'm very nervous for my mother because of the Pawtucket police sending these people to my home. It's well documented that members from Turtle Boy Sports were at our substation with James Bano plotting this. So when he was on the stand and he said we had discussions, we had talked about it. We had talked about it with no accountability or any kind of a punishment for doing such a thing. This is crazy. This is crazy that my Pawtucket Police Department, that's supposed to keep me safe, is sending people to my home to harm me because they couldn't do it themselves. So they called in a Massachusetts group to do it. Right, Frank? Right, Frank? Because this is where we're going, Frank. You are well aware. And you were also well aware that James Bano was able to leave Pawtucket with an officer status where he went to East Providence. Then he went down to New Shoreham where he beat somebody. I have a lot of backstory on James Bano. As I put James Bano's name out there as someone that, did this, people in the community are well aware of things that James Bano was doing. If I could describe it in 3 words, shady as fuck. But Frank Milos knew that. He knew that. And this is where, when that can is opened and those worms are just swirling around, right? Can't get them back into the can. This is exactly what the Pawtucket Police Department has asked for. The exposure of Frank Milos and what he knows that his clients were doing with no accountability. He was okay with James Bano doing this. He was well aware. He can deny all day long. Oh, no, we didn't give her anything. She sent that APRA. We didn't give her anything. No, you gave her a course letter. Remember, Frank? Mm-hmm. She sent that APRA. Oh, no, we didn't give her anything. You gave her a course letter, Frank. Remember that? Frank Milos' involvement in covering up the Turtle Boy Sports is obvious. It's obvious. But Frank Milos doesn't want to answer, or he wants to lie. But he was under oath and said that we had conversations. Of course we had conversations. He had conversations with his so-called client as well. So when you are aware of criminal behavior of your client and you watched him leave Pawtucket, go to East Providence, what I'm hearing is he lied in East Providence, and then he ends up in New Shoreham and he beats someone. Who's responsible for that? I know you don't want to be a whistleblower, and I'm not talking about Frank Milos, but I have a whistle. And I'm going to be blowing it really loud on exactly what Frank Milos has been involved in. Lies to the Attorney General's office. Lies about the Attorney General's office. Telling me that he doesn't believe or trust the opinion of Michael Field. You know what? I don't know where Michael Field was involved with covering up a hate group coming after a woman sent by law enforcement. I don't know that he has ever been involved in anything like that, but I know Frank Milos was. So I know, I mean, we're in the appeals process, and basically it has to go by law, and law needs to be followed. So when we're talking about abuse of process or any of those kinds of things, it's going to be seen for what it is. It's going to be seen for what it is. And in the process, Frank Milos is going to be seen for who he is. So I think it was very good. I think that, my attorney was able to pull some things out of Frank Milos that going to be seen for what it is. Going to be seen for what it is. And I remember that day standing in his office, and his mom had passed away, and I didn't know that. And I apologized because I wouldn't have gone that particular day, because I do have respect. And I wouldn't do that to somebody, but I was not aware that his mother had passed away the day that I showed up in his office and Jiu-Jitsu showed up. And I was there with Christine. He'll remember this. Christine walks out of the office because she's not putting up with his bullshit anymore. She's like, he's playing you. He's, whatever. So she walks out of the office. Jiu-Jitsu walks in. And Frank Milos says to me, "You're not going to get very far with the likes of her." With the likes of her. Who the hell is he? Who the hell is he? He rolls into City Hall and he makes a paycheck, and then he rolls back out. I have yet to see Frank Milos giving back to the community. I've yet to see it. I haven't seen him at giveaways, whether they be backpack giveaways or homeless bags given out. I have yet to see any volunteer work that Frank Milos has done. I see a lot of pictures of Christine Bento giving back to the community every day. She's giving back to the community. So, anyway, you want to paint somebody a certain way. You don't even know that person. You don't even know that person. She's a lot better than you, Frank. She's a lot better than you. Why? Because she doesn't lie like you, Frank? I won't get far with the likes of her. Why? Because she tells the truth and you don't? Was that to say you're a better person than her? Or was it a racist comment? What was it, Frank? What was it? Anyway, Jiu-Jitsu. There's Jiu-Jitsu. He's on that list. He's on that list from federal court of stalkers or aware of stalking. Mark DeSisto. Hey, Mark. Do you think I don't have the testimony? You know better. You know better. So anyway, just talking about opening cans of worms, it was a great opportunity to have Frank Milos on the stand where he had to tell the truth about Turtle Boy Sports. He was very well aware of it. Very well aware of it. And I showed up the day that his mom had passed away. And my mother lived in fear after the Turtle Boy Sports situation. She was totally disgusted with how the city was being run and how the police department was run, that they would allow or they would be a part of people coming to my home from out of state to harm me. 2 dead dogs. 2 dead dogs. one that ended up in the hospital. By the likes of the people that you associate with, Frank. By the likes of them. Your client. The likes of the James Bano. Brian Beach. One of the Smith officers was there that night. They were there at the substation. With Kate Peter and Masshole Mitch. Does that name sound familiar? Frank. Anyway, I am so glad to have this opportunity to get Frank Milos on the stand. And I'm so grateful to my attorney for asking a few particular points, a few particular questions that are pretty telling. So as we move forward, I look forward to being able to participate in meetings and things like that. Because once this is over, I'm going to expose it all. Every bit of it.